I'm back. All right, so I took a little bit of a break, or maybe a long break, a couple weeks from Leak Coding. I was doing Leak Code every single day for about 3 months, but honestly, I didn't feel like I was really improving very much. I was putting in a lot of effort, and I would come home from work and then just go at it, like try to do a problem, try to learn something, but I wasn't improving. I wasn't moving forward. So there's definitely something to be said about not giving up, having perseverance, continuing to go, right? But then there's also something that you don't want to just be doing the same thing over and over and over if it's not actually moving you forward. So I took a little bit of time to kind of, number one, relax. Number two, try to think of, okay, well, what methodology am I going to actually be using? How do I get myself so that I am improving? And so in this video, that's what I want to kind of talk about. Okay, what are my new steps, or what's my new technique for actually improving on Leak Code and improving myself as a software engineer? So this is what I think I'm going to do. So on weekdays, after I get home from work, I'm going to do software engineering projects, not Leak Code. And the reason why I say this is because I realized when I do Leak Code, if you don't have a clear head, if you're not, if you're tired, you're not going to actually be improving anything or learning anything. You're going to see a problem and just kind of like this. I guess here's a solution, maybe. Oh, it didn't work. But, and then you're not going to be able to absorb the technique that you see working. So there's a problem with Leak Code, which is that if you're not mentally there fully, you're not able to absorb anything. And I think that's what I was getting into. Was I would come home from work, I would be exhausted at work, and then I would try to do Leak Code, and it would just not stick, and nothing would stick in my head. Projects are very different because even if you're tired and you are able to operate at like a 30% capacity, you're still able to kind of get a more general understanding of what the project is doing. You're able to kind of get a general understanding of, like, oh, okay, this is how I'm supposed to be doing whatever it is, developing a mobile app or developing a backend server, something like this, right? Like, oh, that's how an SQL database works, right? So projects have that ability that even if you're not completely locked in, you're still able to absorb a lot of information. So what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to reserve the Leak Code for the weekends, projects for weekdays. Now, specifically with Leak Code, okay, I do it over the weekends. Well, how? And this is something that I've also been trying to figure out. Like, I know that I need to not just do problems, not just doing Leak Code problems, but actually using the problems as a method to reinforce the technique. So I need to try to figure out like how to study the technique, like whatever it is, two pointers, dynamic programming, backtracking, etc. How to actually study that technique and then use the problems as practice, as homework problems essentially. And so, again, that does kind of lend itself towards the methodology which I'm describing of you can't do that when you're just completely tired and you're just doing random homework problems, right? Just out of nowhere without taking the time to actually go in and read the text and try to understand the underlying concepts. So it does fit into this technique that, okay, on the weekends, I have 2 entire days to kind of dedicate myself to learning a concept. And then the Leak Code problems are just ways to reinforce that concept. So I'm not sure how this is going to work. This is kind of my theorizing of how I'm going to be moving forward with Leak Code. The other thing is I'm think that I'm not going to take the. Uh, I think that I was definitely over ambitious when I said that I was going to do something every single day, right? So I think I would go to work, and this was another one of the problems that I was running into. I would go to work, and I was having a lot of difficulties at work because my projects were not working, and I was struggling through it, struggling through it, struggling through it. Then I would come home and I would try to do leak code, and then I would struggle through leak code. And so both things were kind of bringing my morale down, and I was having just like I was exhausted at work and then exhausted at leak code, and then they both negatively like influenced each other. So I think going forward, what I should do is kind of just like, if I'm feeling up to it, then do projects. If I'm feeling up to it, then do leak code. Kind of just like more, not hold myself to a thing of like, you have to do this, you have to do that. And luckily, when I took the, how long was it, 2 or 3 weeks break, I was able to actually make a lot of wins at my work. There was this one project. Obviously, I can't discuss like what I'm doing at my work, but there was this one project, and I was struggling with it for a very long time. And I thought that I I was getting to the point like, just I'm so dumb. I'm so dumb. Why can't I solve this problem? And I kept trying to figure out what it was. Turns out it was a noise issue, by the way. The test setup that I created, we didn't have the physical hardware to be able to perform what we needed to, right? So I created this test setup, and the test setup had noise introduced in it, and that noise was causing issues in communication between uh, the two microcontrollers that I am writing software for, or firmware for, right? And then when I put it on a integrated PCB platform, bam, worked perfectly. So, but anyways, so I was going through like all of these problems, and I was thinking like, man, I'm so dumb. I can't do this. And then also the other thing at work, like I'm not exactly sure if I'm doing a good job, if I'm doing a bad job. Like I've been at this job for 1.5 years. I've only heard one time, like, wow, you did a really good job, right? Like, that was the only time and I still remember it because I was so surprised because I had never heard anyone say that. But now I'm like, am I doing a good job? Am I doing a bad job? Am I doing a reasonable job? And normally, even if people don't say something, you can kind of like look at your peers and see like how they're doing. But I am the only firmware person in the entire company. Everyone else is hardware. So I there's a hardware engineering department which I'm a part of, okay? Then there's a mechanical engineering department that we work very closely together. And I'm the only firmware person there. So I have no idea how I'm doing. Secondly, I am the only, with an asterisk actually, I'm the only junior engineer at the company. So everyone else is a principal or a senior engineer. Now, the only exception to that is that there is a junior engineer, but he was an intern for 3 years, and now he's doing his fourth year as a full time. So, like, his title is junior, but he's actually been an engineer for 4 years. So it's like I can't really like look at my peers and be like, oh, okay, I'm operating at, above, below expected. I have no idea because there's no one who's firmware, and there's no one who's a junior. So I'm just like, I feel right now I feel like I'm on a glass bridge. When I was in Chongqing, there was this bridge, and you could look down below, and it you could see just cliff. And I feel like I'm this is this is me right now because I'm walking on this glass. I look below, meaning I know how hard it is to get a job. I know how much I struggled to be able to get an engineering job. So I see the danger. I see it. Okay, and I'm walking. I don't know if this glass is just gonna crack. And so I'm like freaking out. I'm freaking myself out about that as well. So, yeah. One more thing is, and this is good news. I was talking with my manager, and he was asking about Susie, and he said like, "Oh, so did she get the position at Amazon? Because she was previously an software uh, intern at Amazon." And so I didn't mention anything, but he brought it up, and I said, "Oh, yeah, she got the position," and he like kept asking like, how's that going to work logistically, right? And I was like, well, I think I'm going to be driving up to Seattle on the weekend, so leave on Friday, come back on Sunday. And he said, well, why don't you work from home on Mondays and Fridays? Okay, actually, this this is extremely helpful because that was one of the biggest concerns that I had was, okay, if Susie's going to be in Seattle and I'm going to be in Portland, that makes things very difficult, right? But if I'm able to do like 4 days with her and then 3 days uh, here in Portland, that actually significantly makes things a lot easier. So it kind of, number one, it gave me, okay, a little bit less stress because I'm not, I don't have that kind of solves one of those problems. Secondly, is it does give an indication that I'm doing a good job, or at least I'm doing a reasonable enough job that management wants to keep me around. I think that means, right? So like I don't know if I'm doing a good job, but I keep looking for like clues. And I mean, I've worked there for a year and a half. I started as an intern. They converted me. So they converted me. So that must mean that I did something right. And then I've been here for a year and a half. So again, that must mean I did something right. So yeah, I'm trying to like piece together these clues. Like I think I'm doing a good job. I hope I'm doing a good job. I'm trying to constantly improve myself, learn as much as I can, just like become a better and better engineer. But it's just like terrifying, especially again because I struggled really hard to find an engineering job. And I look at my friends who graduated at the same time as me, they're still searching for jobs. So I see all this and I'm like, I'm terrified. So, anyways, that's a little bit of the context. That's how I think I'm going to be moving forward. And yeah, so great things, great things. If you guys want to join me in this journey, feel free to subscribe. I would love it. I'm going to be posting all of my LeetCode videos. I'm going to be posting my software engineering projects. And the idea behind my software engineering projects is, as I mentioned, I'm embedded systems. I'm a firmware engineer. I do a lot of embedded system stuff. I'm not a software engineer. I used to think I was a software engineer until I started asking some of my friends who were actual software engineers, like, "Hey, what what are your projects like?" And they started describing it to me, and I'm like, "Oh, yeah, that's not what I'm doing, right?" So, what I'm trying to do with my software engineering projects is kind of gain those skills to become a software developer, learn how to learn those skills that I don't currently have, but are extremely important in the world of software development. So, first step is actually hunt down what those topics are. And I do that by just talking to my friends. Like that's how I do it. Just like, hey, what do you find important? What do you think I should be learning? And then they tell me a whole bunch of stuff, right? And then I follow it. Second thing is, okay, once I figure out like this point is important, okay, cool. I'm going to do a project, and the point of the project isn't to be amazing. It isn't to be impressive. It isn't to try to show like how great I am or something like this. The point is to give myself an opportunity to practice those skills that I'm trying to learn. So all of the projects that I do, does it have a practical application? Probably not. The point of doing the project is to, whatever it is, practice Node.js, or practice querying a database, or practice developing a mobile app, or whatever it is, right? And then along the journey in those software engineering projects, okay, you learn so many adjacent topics, and that's kind of how I'm doing the software engineering projects. So right now I feel like I'm in a pretty good position because I'm learning both embedded systems at work. I'm learning a lot of the electrical engineering ideas. So that gives me the ability to kind of do robotics, which is awesome, right? And also learning more of the low level software stuff. Okay, cool. And then at home, I'm able to go and start building skills for more of the high level software development roles, or not roles, but like software development skills. So as I mentioned, the back end, the mobile, the whatever else it is. So I feel like I'm in a good position, and I'm going to try to be capitalizing on this and moving forward as best I can. So that's kind of the journey that I'm going to be on. If you want to join me, subscribe. My name is Timothy Lee Grant, and I will see you guys very soon. All right, see ya.